All right, guys. The world is going nuts right now over the coronavirus. I didn't really realize how bad it was. I mean, I've seen it on my Twitter. I've seen it on my Instagram, my Facebook. I've seen it on social media. But today I went to the grocery store with my wife and son, and I saw it in like full effect. You know, full result of media-created hysteria. It was nuts. You couldn't buy toilet paper. You couldn't get a lot of cleaning supplies. No top ramen. No top ramen at a grocery store in Los Angeles. They're sold out. People think it's the end of the world. And it is. It feels very dystopian. Feels very apocalyptic. It's wild. And the stuff people are wearing. You know, the masks, you know, we've seen that before. But there were people wearing full-blown, like, biohazard bodysuits. Disposable onesies. Where do you even buy shit like that? What do you type, like, oh, hey, babe, are we out of disposable onesies? Hey, can I use your debit card? All right, cool. Disposable onesies. It's $39. Yeah, I get it, babe. Okay. Weirdo shit. I can't even imagine spending money on something like that. And then there was like middle-aged women wearing gas masks. I felt like it was insane. Like, not one, multiple. They're like pushing each other out of the way to get the last DiGiorno. I felt like I was in some Vietnam-esque acid trip. Like I was in Jacob's Ladder. Straight insane to me. And, you know, someone like me, I've been an IV drug user for like 2 decades. Never wear condoms. I have multiple diseases. And I'm not saying any of that's cool. But I've always been like kind of like the, well, how much worse can it get kind of guy. You know? This is probably a risky decision. This is probably impulsive of me. What do they say? YOLO? YOLO. You only live once. Fuck it. You know, I used to share needles and then I would trip on it, and I'm past that. So to see the germaphobes come out in full display in their life-size condom outfits is nuts to me. You guys are probably like, why is he opening a video like this? Now, I've explained it before. I have to open the videos with some sort of introduction. I can't just go right into the story because I have to like get in the mode. So that's why I usually turn it into some like self-serving sales pitch from like, all right, like, comment, subscribe, share it on social media, steal someone's phone and subscribe with that phone. Check out patreon.com/Ryan Leone. Yeah, I get annoyed saying the same stuff over and over too. But it's a necessary evil. And we're 3 minutes in. I'm ready to let you guys know, as while the world's coming to an end, we can get into the story. But I must address this. I always see comments about me rocking. Oh, what's wrong with him? Does he have, what is Parkinson's? You know, people say stuff like that. No, I don't have Parkinson's. I have debilitating ADD, and I cannot stop moving. I am constantly moving. You think it's bad watching a video of me? You should see me in person. I can't stop pacing. People always think that I'm on uppers when I'm not. Especially because my nose is always running. So people are like, what a blowhead. Not true. When I'm on coke, I can't even talk. Because I inject it or I smoke it. I don't do it socially. And believe it or not, you don't inject or smoke coke in social settings. You're usually by yourself in a porta potty, you know, hitting your wrist or something and just being stuck by ringers. Moving on. So what happened to me in prison? I'm in debt. I'm in debt bad, and I know better. You know, junkie optimism, as we talked about last time. I'll figure it out tomorrow. As they say, laugh now, cry later. But the crying is the worst, because now you're in this perpetual anxiety-ridden trip. And you owe multiple people. And then, on top of that, you owe people in your own housing unit. So I had tried all day. I called everybody. And, you know, you would think, like, I went and gotten that sack of heroin. It's another $50 that I have to spend. and then I'm doing the morphine stuff on top of it. I'm just being completely reckless. Nobody's picking up my calls. My ex-wife is like,
"You're selfish. You are so selfish. I cannot believe that you would ask for money. I'm out here getting scammed by random black dudes on Craigslist, and you have the nerve to ask me for money."
well, I mean, I'm losing my apartment because of you. You know, you're affecting my credit because now I've gone bad on my lease. I mean, her credit score was 420. And I swear she was determined to bring me right down to that level. 420, like, you know, we'd go try to rent apartments and we'd be like, you know what? We don't have the most idyllic credit. And they would be like, well, do one of you, and like, I don't know what mine was. It was like 610. You know, it wasn't that bad. I mean, I could still get like bullshit credit cards with like a $300 limit, which is, I mean, as somebody that's been doing IV heroin for as long as I have, that's pretty cool. It's pretty impressive. I've always figured out a way to like maintain just that level where I can get a little bit of credit and you know, to keep my habits going. But she had 420. So we tell these apartment people, you know, we tell like property management companies, well, you know, our it's not ideal credit. And they're like, well, one of you guys is okay. I'd be like, yeah, I'm like low 600s. They're like, you'll be fine. And they would run the credit, and she'd have bankruptcies, repos, you know, Tylenol 3 prostitution. You know, these things come up on credit reports, and they would be like mortified. They would literally be, they wouldn't even want to talk to us. They were like so embarrassed that they were even showing an apartment to someone with a 420 credit score. Like, how do you even get that? That's bankruptcy and that's repo. That's what it does to you. And she, where was I going with that? She wouldn't give me the money. So I'm screwed. I am completely screwed right now. And store comes, and I just go into my cell, you know? I don't even, you know, sometimes I've been in this situation before, and sometimes I'll go to store with my, you know, with my laundry bags, because that's what you do. You bring your laundry bags and you fill it up. And like, you know, I've been in situations like this, like in my early days of being a piece of shit dope fiend in prison, I'd like, you know, I'd pull the old, oh, no money on my books? Are you serious? That's impossible. My dad just sent it yesterday. Like acting all perplexed and just like hoping that my acting skills would like allow me to survive and, you know, buy me another week. I don't know what happened. You know, I think he sent a postal order, and that takes a couple weeks. They did it on the lockbox. I think that takes a couple weeks to clear, whatever it was. Problem with that, and you know, that's a spin move designed strictly to buy you more time. I don't know what happened. Let me look into it. And people are annoyed, but it buys you another week to figure it out. Problem with that is I owed so many people in my unit that showing up with empty laundry bags just advertises that my money didn't come. And now there's the same kind of mass hysteria at the coronavirus. People are like, Leonidas didn't, his money didn't hit. Oh, and then you have a line of, you know, villagers outside trying to mob lynch you. Fuck that. So I just went into my cell, loaded, and just kind of, I got loaded off the 50 paper, by the way. I got loaded off the one that Terry had given me. So I had that going for me. At least if I had a deal, you know, and it's not the kind of thing where you're going to get beat up right there and then. What's going to happen is, you know, if they want to push the issue, they're going to go to the unit rep, which was some dude I'm extorting anyway, you know. So, like, I had some leverage there. It's like, well, okay, you're going to call a shot. I'll put you out there that you're a check-in. But then it makes me look bad because then politically it's like, well, why weren't you putting him out there that he was a check-in right when you got here? Oh, you're extorting him for morphine and for whatever else you could get out of him? Now, that's not solid. That's some straight junkie shit. You're letting somebody that you know rolled it up over a debt have some position of power, and you don't tell people because of your own selfish greed? No. That's exactly what I was doing. And then, he has to bring it to the guy that has the keys for the entire, prison. There's some white guy running it for everyone. And there's usually like another, like the Wizard of Oz type guy that's like in the hole just running. He's been in solitary confinement for 27 years and he's just playing some weird, Sims-like game with Peckerwoods as pawns, and so that's usually how like the power structure works. So I knew I was screwed, just sitting in my cell, and sure enough, here they start coming, one at a time. Paisa comes, hey, did you get my money? I'm like, hey, this is a good one. This is one that I typically did. Hey, yeah, it's coming, but the money didn't go on my books. I have somebody shopping for me in another unit. It's tomorrow. Now I bought myself another day because not every unit shops on the same day. So that's what I would tell people. It's coming tomorrow. My family, my people, that's what you want to say. My people accidentally sent the money to the wrong books. Paisa's okay about it. But then there's this other guy. I forget what his name was, but he was an asshole. He was one of the ones that I was worried about. Because you always kind of like think about it in your head. You're like, okay, should I partially pay people? And that's another very sophisticated prison dope fiend move. If you can't pay all your debts, a good way to do it is to get at least a chunk of the money and partially pay as many people that will accept it, because politically, if they take partial payment, then it's not like a smashable offense. You're not going to get smashed off the yard because you're making an effort to pay. So people tend not to take partial payment because they know that, and they know that it's a ploy to try to weasel your way out of it. And then the next week you can partially pay them again. And it's just this ongoing game. And everyone just plays these games, and it's annoying. And I hated to be that guy. This was my own reckless, impulsive behavior that was making me do this. So then the other guy that I was worried about, he ran a store. I think his name was Diablo. Not to be confused with HIV positive Diablo in Victorville. That was another amazing person that I truly miss. Too bad he's not in my life anymore. I think this guy's name was Diablo as well. And he was like this. He literally looked like Wario from Super Mario Brothers. He had some crazy eyebrows, and he was just some psycho looking. I don't even know what he was, Paisa or Southsider. But he tripped. I mean, if you were 25 cents off, he was a store guy. If you're 25 cents off, he would cry. He was a crier. That's what we call people that, make a big deal out of it. Oh, Diablo's a crier, bro. You want to make a priority out of him. So I try to figure out who to pay, and he was definitely one of them. And I had Jamie get me some stuff. I'm like, explain the situation. I'm like, I'll bring you down with me, bitch. He's like, okay, I can get you this and this. So he got me like a thing of soda. But I owed him, I don't know what I owed Diablo, like $40 or something. Anyway, he makes a huge deal about it. He comes down to my cell, and he's like, where's my store? I was like, I tried to start giving him the same game that I gave the Paisa before him. He's like, no, fuck that. Fuck that. I knew your money's no good. I fucking knew it. I heard you're a fucking junkie. You're a tacato. That's what they call junkies in Spanish. Tacato. You're a tacato. I don't know why that was never my nickname. It's kind of a cool nickname. Tacato. But he was very mad about it. I already knew he was going to go cry to Jamie about it. But it's a bullshit game because I know, like I said, I had leverage with him. I owed a couple other guys. I owed some black guy for burritos. I owed him $12, and I felt bad about that. I was some lifer, and that was his only hustle, and I didn't have his money. And these are pettier debts that I'd forgotten about. But pretty soon, I had to tell 7 or 8 people they weren't getting their money. Now, the one that I was really worried about was the white guy from the other unit that was running the ticket, because I didn't have his copy cards. And he had been very emphatic, hey, you have my car? I'm like, I got you. I said it melodically with confidence. I put some bass in it. I'm like, I got you. And he's like, all right, sounds solid to me, man. Now I don't have it. And word that my reputation was poopified started spreading rapidly throughout the institution. And, in the morning, I was supposed to give Terry the $50 in stamps too. I didn't have that. I didn't have the money that I had owed for partial credit for the meth. I didn't owe, dude, screwed. And then going to the chow hall's awkward, and you're having to look behind your back because you don't know if, like, you're getting some oatmeal, you're going to get stabbed, and you're, and get paralyzed. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. You have no idea. You know that you've just opened yourself up for an endless stream of bad possibilities. So I go to breakfast the next morning. Another night of, like, no sleep, even though I'm gouged out on heroin and morphine, and I'm still tripping because I know what it is. And then the next morning, I'm just disgustingly sober. And I have to deal with the consequence. I'm sure that a lot of people can relate. Even, if you go out for a bad night of drinking, you do something really, like, you don't want to, like, you fuck, like, your friend's girlfriend or something. I've never done that, but, I'm trying to think of an example. And, like, you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, I did something so bad. And, like, you're under the influence and you wouldn't have done it if you weren't. And you can't take it back. And that's how I felt about getting that sack of heroin from him, because I know that the ticket guy's going to be mad. So anyway, I go to breakfast because I'm hungry and I don't have any food. And what little I did have, I used to partially pay a couple of those guys to get them off my back. But I didn't pay everyone. I didn't pay Diablo. And he was so mad. And I knew he was going to push the issue. The black guy that I owed for the burritos, I knew he was cool. There was a white guy in my unit that was selling me stamps. I didn't pay him either. And then I see the ticket guy, and he's like, "What's up? I heard that you're a piece of shit." I'm like sitting across from him. I'm like, and I'm trying to make a joke out of him. I'm like, I am. I'm a scumbag. He's like, well, I mean, you have until tonight, or we're fighting over it. This guy's like 6'7". He kind of looks like The Rock. I don't know. It's probably like the best way. I mean, looks like he's on steroids, but he's just been in prison for like 18 years, which is worse because it's like actual functional fucking muscles, and he can like squeeze my head and kill me. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, he's the worst. And then Terry, same thing. I'm leaving, dumping my trays. Like, hey, Leone, you got my stamps at lunch, right? He's like, because I hear you owe money all over the compound. I'm like, oh. Yes, Terry, I will have it. I'm still lying. I'm still, like, at this point, I should just fucking surrender. Just be like, you know what? I don't have it. You guys got to wait till next week. What other choice do you have? I'm still trying to weasel my way out of it because I just don't know what to do. And it's like, I don't feel necessarily like I'm in danger except for the ticket guy. I do think he's going to beat me up. And then Terry probably, like, he's old, but he has a bunch of little gang member skinheads that'll jump on my ass. And then the other races won't touch me, but it's already gotten back to me. When I get to the unit to get my morphine, Jamie's like, look, I know you hate me, but I got to be honest with you, man. Like, they brought it to the dude. I think his name was Tommy. They brought it, let's just say it was. I brought it to Tommy. And I don't know, man. I think they're going to remove you off the yard. Like, you been here like 2 weeks and you've just brought more drama than we've had in literally 6 years. I'm like, come on, 6 years? He's like, yeah, the last time we had an issue, same thing. Some guy came in talking about all this money he had, and it did not end well for him. And I'm like, well, what happened to him? They're like, oh, he got hit with a lock in the sock. He broke his his cheekbone. And he was, rushed to an outside hospital. I was like, oh, well, that's cool. That's chill. And I'm just tripping. I'm like, what am I going to do? So, I tell Jamie, I go, look, you're in this with me. You did this to, you checked in all these years ago. I'd have the money. He's like, that's, what? So if I had paid you back in 2009, now you'd have the money, you'd have this money in your savings account to pay it now? Is that what you're telling me? I'm like, no, but you know damn well that I could have come in here and I could have just put your ass on blast. He's like, yeah, but you're a junkie and you extorted me. It's like, so now you expect me to have your back? And I'm like, can you just get me the 50 in stamps, please? because Terry already knew who he was going to sick on me. You know, it was not going to be a one-on-one thing. Like I said, he was going to put a bunch of little kids on me. Jamie's like, I can get you stamps. I can do that for you. You know, he's like, he's like, you could have got the morphine for me and you could have put me out there anyway. I was like, yeah, I could have done that, but I'm not a scumbag, Jamie. I'd done that, like, probably told like 15 people at this point. And like, they knew, like, as soon as I was about to leave, I was going to take off on Jamie, and then everyone was going to know, like, what was up, you know, even though it was going to, like I said, it was going to make me look bad. Jamie ends up getting me the stamps for Terry. It doesn't matter, though, because all these other people are mad at me. So then I get an even worse situation. So I get called out to the yard. You know, I end up paying Terry that night after dinner. The guy that is running the whole yard, who like never goes out there at night. You know, he has like a program where he's like out. You know, he'll be out there all day, but at night he's kicking it. He's watching TV. He's meeting me out there just to talk to me. Now, I've been in a situation before where the guy that's like the shot caller for the entire yard is calling me out, and he wants to either I'm going to go out to an ambush and I'm going to get stomped out, maybe stabbed, or by virtue of me showing up, they'll respect me enough not to do anything to me. And that's what had happened at Victorville back in 2010. When I'd run up a big bill, and I got you to this paisa that lived in the unit above me, and I owed him a bunch of money, and eventually he brought it to this guy Travis that was running the yard at that place, and pretty much told him like, hey, it's been, you know, this amount of time since he hasn't paid us, and we want something done about it. And in that particular situation, one of my friends did check in over it, didn't go out to yard with me, and then I went out by myself. And I've talked about this in another video. It was the kind of thing where like people that didn't like me in the unit that never went to yard, like went out that day. These like old decrepit white dudes that like just thought I was some arrogant young punk ass kid, went out just to see me get beat up. And I went out to the yard, and like a huge circle of white guys surrounded me. And the fact that I went out there and just faced them like that, you know, when I could have easily just gone up to the cop and been like, I gotta go. You know, it earned me a certain level of respect from them, where they didn't end up beating me up. They just put me on restriction. And I'd gotten lucky that time. And I'd told that story a number of times after the fact. And like OG convicts were like, you're lucky. You know, that's a roll of the dice. Right? You know, it's like flipping a coin. Heads, they're going to smash you off the yard. Tails, they're going to give you some sort of slap on the wrist like they had. But I could only get lucky so many times. So I was very, very, very nervous to go out there. And I went and I tried to call my ex-wife, you know, just, I don't know, trying to maybe figure out if she could send me money. You know, she'd been saying no, but like still in my mind, I thought maybe she'd try to help me. Like she's not a complete, you know, piece of shit that doesn't care about me, but that's what it was. She doesn't pick up, and I have to go out there. So, you know, dinner. Now at Lompoc, I'd been sitting at like the California table. And that was like where the shot caller of the yard sat. It was like the cool kids table. And I got to sit there. Now that I've been poopified, now that I was just some straight turd, I had to sit with like these, like the most random, you know, bargain bin Peckerwoods, you know? And, you know, it's like at the cool table, everyone's cracking jokes, you know? I'm like telling them, I'm like, not enough hot tan fools here. They're like, Leonie, we love you, man. Now I'm sitting with these guys, and they're like, hey, dude, do you think we'll see anyone get shanked? It's my first time, man. What do you think? And I'm just like, fuck. I'm eating my like macaroni salad. Just like, I hate my life. I hate my life. I hate my life. I'm doing these little morphine pills that aren't doing anything to me. So the entire dinner, and when we get into my third time in prison, when I had to go to state, and they were mixing general population and SNY, GP and PC. I was literally involved with like 12 riots. It was horrible. It was like the worst term ever. If I had problems before that term, that one like completely turned me into a weirdo. But I remember being in those riots, like knowing that it was going to crack off in the chow hall and just not being able to eat. Just being completely arrested by butterflies to the point where you have such racing thoughts, everything just seems weightless and you can't concentrate on anything because everything around you is so fluttery. That's how I felt that dinner, because I knew that no matter what, it was going to be an embarrassment to go out there. Who knows what was going to happen? My little fiery pit bull workout partner might just beat the fuck out of me on general principle. I had no idea what was going to happen, but I knew it was going to be bad. I couldn't even eat. I'm sitting with these like social, misfit, like bargain bin Peckerwoods, the just the wackest dudes at the joint. I went from like the cool table to like, this is where I sit now, because I'm just, they're like arguing over shit from Twilight books. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, dude, I was like alone. I'd gone rogue, I went from like having respect from everyone because I came from Victorville and I knew a bunch of people to like just being the biggest piece of shit there. And then a lot of people I think would have checked in at that point, especially I didn't have good time to lose. I could have just gone to the hole and relaxed the rest of my term. But at that time, my reputation still really mattered to me. It was like something that I really took seriously. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because my first term was kind of a coming to age experience for me. And so some of my life ideology was formed by prisoners because they kind of adopted me as a surrogate younger brother. But that's why I stayed. I had been schooled no matter what, don't check in, go face it like a man. And so that's what I'm doing. I didn't eat. I went and I dumped my tray. I went back to my unit. Nobody's talking to me in there. I'm just this outcast at this point. And, I get dressed and I go out to the yard. As soon as they call the recreation move, I go out. Fully prepared to get beat up. Or worse, And when I get out there, there's a group of white guys huddled together. And I'm just like, it is what it is. I walk up to it. When you walk towards an ambush that you already know exists, you truly are weightless. Like you glide. And I go up to them and they kind of surround me the same way they did at Victorville. Just this wolf pack that I know can pounce on me at any second. And I'm trying to be omnidirectional. I'm trying to be aware of what's going on behind me, what's going on in front of me, to the side of me. I know I'm in a bad situation. And the guy that had the keys, Tommy, he's like, hey, let's go for a walk. It's just going to be me and him talking. I'm like, okay, this could go one of two ways. He might be walking me to a place where they can attack me. I've seen that happen a number of times in prison. At this point, I'm still, I believe at Lompoc, they had a cop like standing somewhere like on the yard. And I believe that I was in his sight. Or maybe it was a gun tower. I don't remember. But I remember that that was my first thought, is that he was going to take me out of sight. And that someone was just going to run up to me and dope fiend me. I was going to fall on the ground and I was going to get smashed out. And that's what I'm thinking as I'm walking with him and I'm kind of surveying around me just to see what's going to happen. And he's like, you're in a bad situation, right? And I remember I'm still kind of like looking around. He's like, you have my word, you're not getting attacked right now. Of course, I don't take his word. I don't take that at face value because I know that in the short amount of time that I've been there, plus knowing that I have a short amount of time before I'm released, they know the same thing. The chances that I'll check in, I'm like high risk at that point, and they know that, and I know that they know that. And he goes, you made a mistake. You came in here, and not only did you run up debts that you couldn't pay, living outside of your means, continuing to be a drug addict in here. Not only that, you lied to people. You straight lied to the ticket guy. You said that you for sure had the money on your books, and you didn't. You lied to other races, which is a liability for all of us. Can you appreciate the situation that you've put yourself and all of us in? Now, he kind of like signals at this point. My heart just starts beating because I know what that means. I'm like looking over, and I just see this group, the same group that was surrounding me before. They're kind of walking towards us. Now, we're like in the corner of the yard where like a pull-up bar is and some dip. It's like a dip station. And I'm like, I thought you said you gave me your word that we're going to do anything. He's like, we want you to do something for us. And I was like, what? And he's like, well, we have a situation. They're continuing to move forward. I'm like, well, what's the situation? Like trying to get him to tell me real quick. And he's like, do you know who Weed is? Now, Weed was this like redhead kid that was pretty nice to me when I had first gotten there. Now, Meech gave me the Nike Cortezes. So those were like my nice shoes. Shoes where, if I'm going to visit, I wear them. When I go to chow, I wear these shoes. They're like my nice shoes. And typically you have a pair of nice shoes, you may have a pair of workout shoes, and then you have yard dogs. And yard dogs are just shoes that you wear out in the yard, and they're meant to get fucked up. And he had given me a pair of yard dogs for free. Usually they're only like $5 or $10. They're used shoes with like holes in them, but it was an act of kindness. And I didn't know much about him. I knew he was either doing like 40 or 50 years or like a life sentence. He was doing a really long time, and he wasn't that much older than me. I think he was like maybe even younger, maybe like a year young. I don't know, right around my age. And they're like, we found out that he's a chomo. He's a child molester, and we want you to remove him. And I'm like, and these guys are still walking towards me, and I'm like, well, what do you mean? I'm trying to get him to explain this quicker. He's like, well, this is what happened. So he's in here on a crystal meth case. He has paperwork. We found out that paperwork is not accurate and that it's been doctored by the feds. And I'm like, how did you find that out? Because now I'm in my head thinking, okay, they want me to take this guy out, maybe stab him, hit him with a lock in the sock. This wasn't even that violent of a place, although that situation had happened with the Southsiders. Where that hit went down, and someone had commented that I think they were working there. They were some sort of staff or whatever, and they said that person didn't die. That he had flatlined several times in the helicopter to the hospital in Santa Barbara, but they ended up reviving him. He just never came back to that particular institution. I never knew what happened. None of us did. It was all kind of speculation. So I found that interesting that somebody that actually worked there had commented and said, hey, this is what had happened. But that was one of the more violent things that had gone on there. Victorville, you're seeing people get smashed off the yard all the time. You see people getting stabbed there. I never got in a riot at Victorville, but it was close a couple times. Where like the entire yard had separated. But they wanted, he was a sex offender that I guess had been in the mix. Like he was in like the in crowd there. He was like a well-liked guy. And the way that they had found out, this is what the shot caller's telling me, is that they were watching like some show. I don't know, America's Most Wanted. It wasn't that show, but it was something like that, like a documentary style show. And they showcased his case. They showed his case on it, which is very common in the feds. I was in there with the Mongols, and I saw them on America's Most Wanted, and you're just in there with like a lot of high profile cases. So this is not that uncommon in the feds that you watch a show on like the History Channel and you see somebody that you're sitting in the day room with someone that's on the TV at the same time, because there's a lot of high profile criminals. And I guess they had watched a show about how he was this big meth dealer. They came and they raided his house, and he had a 14-year-old little girl tied to the bed that apparently he was raping. And she had testified in court that he kind of like had that Weed had her there as a sex slave, and he would get all twacked out on meth and molest her and have sex with her. Just really, really awful, disgusting stuff. And the guys are still walking towards me. And he's like, we just want you to remove him. That's all. You don't have any good time to lose. You've already fucked up. This is a way to clean your hands, wash your face before you leave, so your reputation's not bad. You seem like the kind of guy that's going to come back to prison. I'm like, what the fuck's that supposed to mean? Kind of like joking with him, like elbowing. Like, what's that supposed to mean, bud? It's not funny to him. He's mad. He's not I'm like a real liability to them. They haven't had a rabid dope fiend coming in foaming at the mouth, chronic masturbating in a cell, running up debts that he can't pay. They haven't had something like this happen for a while. Things are relatively in order at this spot. And so, are you willing to take him out? I said, yeah, of course. He gives the thumbs up to these guys that are walking towards me. They're walking towards me like The Walking Dead. Scary. They stopped. I was like, well, when you say take him, what do you want me to kill him? Because I'm not going to kill anyone. He's like, no, but we need you to take him out. He needs to leave on a gurney. Like that'll be acceptable to us. And I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, it was a weird situation because I'm not saying I didn't have anything to lose, and I could have easily checked in at this point. But, it was kind of like, I don't know. For some reason, I just agreed to do it, and in my head right there and then, I decided that I was going to do it. And we will get into that in the next video, the next episode of this series. And I hate to cut it so short. It's just been a really, really long day, and I wanted to get something to you guys. I appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/RyanLeone. I appreciate every single one of you guys, and I'll see you next time. Palabra.